nor will they grieve. So this is just adding to what we saw in Surah 569. I just wanted to add that in there.
Okay, yeah. So Surah 262 is not talking about the Haredi Jews and the Protestants of today. It's simply is a reference to those who lived prior to the Prophet Muhammad, because also not to mention that Islam upholds that the Jews were on the right path until their book got corrupted, and then the Christians were on the right path until they got corrupted. And so Muhammad sort of acts like the reformer. And so the moment you accept Muhammad as a prophet, as well as all the other prophets, you just turn into a Muslim.
But where does it say that in the Quran? Because I can understand you're saying this from what Islam teaches today, but from the actual recitation that Muhammad received from Angel Jibril, where does it say that? Like, actually, where is the evidence for that? Because we've already just given you some evidence here that actually salvation is possible for those who are not just following the Quranic revelation. So it seems to be that actually Muhammad didn't say what you were saying.
Well, Surah 37, 35, and 48, 29 talk about the Shahada.
Okay, now one thing, what was the Shahada during the time of Prophet Muhammad?
Well, obviously the Shahada simply means no other gods but God alone, and that Muhammad is his last prophet.
Okay, now I ask you, what evidence do we have that that's what the Shahada was? Firstly, in the Quranic text, and then secondly, in epigraphical things. Because what we do have, the evidence that we do have today, we have dating from certain rock inscriptions where we have the Shahada, but it was only singular. So it only said you should believe in you should believe in God, but it never added Prophet Muhammad. It wasn't until a later time, after there was now problems between Jews and Muslims, that then there was a second sentence that was added to the Shahada. So even if you say that, yes, you had to believe in the Shahada during the time of Prophet Muhammad was just the belief in one God, which a Jew, a Christian, and those who we call Muslims will all affirm happily.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do a gotcha sort of thing, so sorry if you're feeling like that. I know you came in and you have a very nice spirit as well. It's just that a lot of Muslims, they haven't thought about this sort of way of putting the argument forward. So I just wanted to sort of just see how you will sort of respond to that. But I do really respect your mannerism with this.
Yeah, and just to be clear too, like, it's totally fine to just say, hey, I have to think about that.
Yeah. I think what I want to do is when I get off this live stream, what I'm going to do is what's the question? I could write down somewhere.
Could you, if you have time, I don't know if you're someone who likes reading a lot. I've got a paper, which I don't know if it could be sent to you or could be put somewhere, where I sort of go through this a little bit more. I don't know if you want to.
I can drop it in the private chat here.
Yeah. So maybe if you,
I can just link it in the actual live stream too.
So our Muslim friend here, I want him to you just go to the private chat. It's right there. You click download. And there you go. And then he can grab that, stay and drop it in the live as well.
And something. We could talk. So I think the next time you hold a live stream, I'd love to be there, because I've already been on like 3 live streams myself, and I'm just looking for people to respectfully converse with. And again, I used to watch you on Instagram a lot, and I'm like, hey, this is good. I finally got to meet you, and you're not half as bad as I thought you were, because you seem to come down harsh on various backgrounds. And
are you talking about me or Sijuwati?
You.
Okay. Well, here's the thing.
He's harsh on me too.
I'll just fully acknowledge that's like a character persona I'm giving off, because when you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, I want to capture your attention. So if I come across a little grumpy, a little rude, you're more likely to watch those. But that's not how I am. That's just my TikTok persona, because I want people to watch. And that actually gets, if I here's the thing, let me just ask you this. If you're scrolling through and you come across my video and go, hey, how you doing? I'm a Christian. I want to just talk to you. You're not. No. If I come across and I'm just like, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard, now you're interested. So that's just part of what I do on there.
Okay. But Michael, my question now for you is, if you were shown compelling evidence that Islam really was from God, and then Muhammad was like the last prophet and the Quran was his word, do you think you would convert?
That's an interesting question. It would depend on the type of evidence and what you're presenting, because here's where I'm coming from. I believe we have strong, sufficient evidence that Jesus did rise from the dead. So you would need to debunk that. And I guess as a Muslim, you believe Jesus wasn't even crucified, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you would need to debunk all of that. tear down my worldview and then build up a Muslim one. If you were to go show some sort of evidence that like Islam is true, I'm going to go with what Dr. Sijawati was just saying, that the earliest Muslims had a different belief than what you have. So maybe that was actually changed, added by hadith and like sayings over time. So that would be my criterion for what's going on here. However, if you want to show me some evidence for Islam, I'm happy to listen to it and take into consideration.
And I think I assume you've you met with David Wood, and so he said that the very moment any Muslim, whether it be me, the weakest or the strongest, could show him an unequivocal, like verbatim statement in the Quran that says that the text of the Jews and the Christians is corrupt, he's ready to be Muslim.
Okay. Do you have a verse like that?
That's actually not what I want to talk about now. I actually wanted to comment on something else. I think maybe before we do that, possibly what I'll do is actually wanted to comment on what the other caller said. He was talking about, the concept of magic in Islam and it's true that there's a hadith that says that the Prophet Muhammad was protected by God from magic. So I actually go ahead and read it to you right now. It says, Aisha, what has happened to you? Do you feel jealous?
Can you give us real quick? Can you give us the hadith number so I can actually put it up?
Let me see. It's Sahih Muslim 2815, 2815.
2815. Okay. Yeah, let me just go and read it. I'll just get it up for the audience's sake.
Okay. Aisha, what has happened to you? Do you feel jealous? Thereupon she said, how can it be that a woman like me should not feel jealous in regards to a husband like you? Therefore, God's messenger said, it was your devil who had come to you. And she said, God's messenger, is there along with me a devil? He said, yes. I said, is there a devil attached to everyone? He said, yes. Aisha again said, God's messenger, is it with you? He said, yes, but my Lord has helped me against him, and as such, I am absolutely safe from his mischief.
Okay. So I'll be honest. Red flags are going up all over the place hearing Muhammad say, yes, everyone has a devil. That doesn't sound good to me on the surface.
Well, actually, this is simply talking about how everyone experiences waswasa or intrusive thoughts every once in a while, but by turning to God, you can overcome it. And so, but it does, see, this is the big thing that I saw. There's this gentleman named Louis Leinhardt, and he debated a Muslim about demonic possession. And so he intentionally left out that last part. It talks explicitly about how God protected him from demonic possession, and he keeps him safe. So
here's my question to you. Okay, let's say I was a Satanist, and I mean like a real Satanist. I believed in Satan. Okay. And I said, and so you said, hey, man, I think you're possessed. I think that'd be a logical thing for you to say. Wouldn't you agree?
I suppose so.
So if I said, don't worry, Satan has protected me from demons possessing me, would you be like, okay, yeah, that sounds legit?
Well, that's actually a contradiction to me. You're saying that being a Satanist gets you protected, but the hadith says, but my Lord has helped me against him, and as such, I'm safe from his mischief.
That's what I'm getting at. I get what you're saying, but I'm saying like just on the surface, if we just leave Islam out of it, just because I say I'm protected, and I'm not saying like Satan's going to possess, I'm saying Satan versus his demons. Satan is going, if I was a Satanist and I said, I believe in Satan, he's going to protect me from his demons possessing me. He's not going to let that happen. Do you think that I have good ground to stand on for believing that?
Wait. Hold on. What was your question again?
So like, let's just say I was a Satanist and I said, hey, don't worry, bro. I talked to Satan. He said he's not going to let any of his minions possess me. Do you think, would you believe me on that? Or would you go, I don't know about that?
Well, throughout the Bible and the Quran, he's described as the great deceiver. So you should probably reevaluate your own position in that case.
You don't think that in the Quran, Allah is called the best of deceivers?
Well, see what that verse. See, this is another big thing that critics of Islam like to bring up. Is that they say that, but it's talking about how apparently the disbelievers planned against his prophet, but they were so boastful and full of themselves. But God, being all powerful and all knowing, was able to overpower them and was able to punish them for their scheming. So,
and how did he do that?
Well, I believe it talks about how the Jews believed that they successfully executed Jesus, but they really didn't, and he was already raised up to heaven, and so they believe, like we proved that he's false, but God
Well, that's Surah 4. I'm talking about what's in Surah 3, I believe, that Allah is the best of deceivers. Surah 354 specifically. And you're talking going to Surah 4, 157.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
this specifically, I mean, the Arabic word means to like deceive, delude, cheat, double cross, and it says Allah is the best of deceivers. Now in translations, they translated that as planner. And so it just comes across as a little odd that they would do that because the word means to deceive. And I've talked to Arabic speakers, and they would say, yeah, that means deceive.
Well, actually, the meaning of the attribute makr, it just simply means that God countered the evil plots of the kafir with his own superior plans, given again that God's all-knowing and all-powerful. So that's what that's getting at there. And makr just they've translated that to mean many different things, such as plotting, countering, and of course, scheming. But it doesn't always have to be an evil, negative thing.
Okay, but in the context, though, it's saying that these people. Let me just bring it up here so we can read this together, because I think it's important we actually look at this. So let me just pull up the Quran. I will jump over to that one from what I was doing. So Surah 354. Now again, I don't think it's translated differently. But what I want to do is I want to look at the context. So they prayed to Allah, our Lord, we believe in your revelations and follow your message, so count among those who bear witness. And the disbelievers made a plan against Jesus, but Allah also planned. So notice the contrast. So they schemed, but Allah also schemed. They deceived, and Allah also deceived is the contrast that's going on. So the definition here, we can pull it up. It means, so for example, let me see if I can put this on the screen. I just want to get this up here. So I think it's also important that we actually look at this as well. So I'm going to take this down. I'm going to put this up as well. So here we go. From the word, it means cunning, craftiness, sly, willing, double dealing, deception, trickery, sly, crafty. See the issue here.
Yeah, and also Ibn Kathir, one of the most respected Sunni Muslim explainers of the Quran, he says that the plotting is simply it's a reference to the schemes that the kafir had against Prophet Jesus. And yes, this is from Surah 354, but it says that God's plan thwarted them by taking Jesus up into heaven and making them look like fools, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing that at all. It's just, let's go back to the original point, though. You were saying that, Allah has promised in that hadith that he is going to keep Muhammad safe from demonic aspects, demonic activity. But Allah says he is the best of deceivers. So why should we trust him on this issue when he's telling us he will deceive to assure, his plans go through? In that context. So, this raises a whole ton of red flags. Why should we trust Allah in this regard?
But yeah, let's not forget that there's two different, so humans' deception, like, lying is often like, selfish schemes which intend to harm and mislead people, but God's planning, as seen in the Quran. So the Quran says that God is just, and he's the master of everything. And it was actually intended to keep truth safe as opposed to tarnished. And so, yeah, again, as I said already, that verse is talking about how God punished the kafir in their boastful and full of themselves plan against their prophets. And so God's actually keeping the truth safe in that regard. And that makr in that sense does not ruin God's name in Islam at all.
Can I say something just quickly? So just from a philosophical point of view, deception is actually a morally bad action unless it is the only option that you have. So, for example, someone comes to my door and says to me, the famous one, am I hiding, Jews or whoever in the house? And, obviously I'll say no to the Nazis because that's the only option that I have, deception, to save those people's lives. But generally, deception is seen to be a morally bad action only if it is saving a life, and only if it is the only option that you can utilize. Now, God, who's omnipotent, he doesn't have those limitations. So why would he ever use deception?
Well, I think that's actually a pretty good point that you brought up. And so, again, I talked about the difference between, human lying and how it always results in, in people, getting hurt. But again, in God's schemes, as seen as Surah 354 was actually, again, meant to keep the prophets safe as opposed to harmed. And so it's morally opposite to human deception. So an example could be like, I throw a net to catch a bird secretly, which would harm them. But let's say God could adjust the wind easily